Today's lesson we're going to work on 5.6 slope-intercept form. So today's date goes over there and we'll get started. So slope-intercept form looks like this. You've got y equals mx plus b. The reason it's called slope-intercept form is because the two numbers that you have in here, m is your slope and b, that is the y-intercept. So it's called slope-intercept form because you can identify the slope and the y-intercept from the equation. When we write our equations, we will not jump to slope-intercept form. We're actually going to do this down here. We're going to solve for y to get into slope-intercept form. So anytime we're writing an equation, if it asks for slope-intercept form, we're going to do this step, solve for y, and in the end, it will look like this, y equals mx plus b. So let me show you what I mean by that. Here's a quick example. We've got our slope of -2 and an ordered pair. So here's an x1 and a y1. Well, this is a point and a slope. So if you have a point and the slope, what can you do? Write an equation in point-slope form. So point-slope form we already know. It's y minus y1 equals m times x minus x1. So we're going to go ahead and plug everything in. We've got y minus the y1 is a 2 equals our slope is -2 times x minus and the x1 is a 3. So this is an equation of a line. This is point-slope form and the directions are asking us for slope-intercept form. So how do we get this point-slope form to look like y equals mx plus b? Well, all we're going to do is we're going to solve this for y. To solve for y just takes two steps. First is dealing with this slope right here. You notice it's in front of a set of parentheses, so we can take that slope and distribute that. That leaves us with y minus 2 equals -2 times x is -2x. Be careful with your signs on this. You've got a -2 times a -3, which is a +6. And then we're trying to get y alone, so if we go back over to where the y is, you've got this -2, so we can add 2 to both sides. When we do that, we get, that cancels, y equals -2x plus 8. So when you take point-slope form and you solve for y, it turns into, magically, slope-intercept form. Now on this one, we could identify the slope as -2 and that y-intercept is 0, 8. We always write our y-intercept as an ordered pair. So here's our slope, there's our y-intercept. Alright, the last thing I want to show you in the intro video, since you have a handful of videos to watch after this, is how to graph this. Now, when you graph an equation, we would like this to be in slope-intercept form so it's easier to graph. That means we're going to take our equation over here and we're going to solve this for y. This could take 1 or 2 steps depending on what form the equation is in. If you've got your x term over here on the same side as your y, we're going to deal with that first. It's a +3x. Let's go ahead and subtract 3x from both sides. So we're trying to solve for y. We got to get the x to the other side first. Now over here on the right, this -3x is not a like term with this -9. So we're going to write them separately. We'll write the x term first, so -3x, and then -9. Alright, so we're getting close to having solved for y. You've still got that 3 in front of the y right here. So our next step will be to divide by divide by 3 right there. When you divide the left side by 3, you have to divide the right side by 3, and we're actually going to divide every term by 3. So it's going to look like that. Your 3's cancel, leaving us with y equals -3x over 3. Just worry about reducing the numbers. You have a -3 over 3. That reduces to -1x, and then this next one you have a -9 divided by a +3, which is a -3. This is slope-intercept form. This is easier for us to graph. We'll go ahead and identify the slope is the number in front of the x, -1. I'm going to go ahead and make that a fraction to help out with the graphing. I've got the rise over the run, and then the y-intercept is that number on the end, 0, -3. Now when we go to graph this, always start with that y-intercept, The y-intercept is 0, -3. So if we zoom in on our graph a little bit, we want to find 0, -3 is on the y-axis, so we just go down 3, and there's our first point right there. From your y-intercept, now we can do our slope, -1/1. Because that's negative, this is going to be a downhill line. So from the y-intercept, we're going to go down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1, and we're going to fill in all those points. So down 1 to the right 1, down 1 to the right 1. And you can see we're getting this downhill negative line, and we're just going to go ahead and fill in our entire graph. These dots are kind of small, I'm not sure if you can even see them. And then draw in your line as best you can. And that's graphing from slope-intercept form. I put this one in the intro notes just so you could see how we do the solving for y so that you are ready to do your graph.